Want to become a better speaker? Well, you're not alone. Imagine finally getting to be a prof at a prestigious university. You get up in front of your first set of students and you're terrified, and the reviews are horrible. Now imagine you're being honored at a black tie awards dinner, but people have lost interest in the acceptance speeches by the time it's your turn to receive your award. You look into the audience, 3,000 to 4,000 people, and they're ignoring you. They're talking to each other at their tables. So why am I telling you this? These aren't common stories, but they probably happen often. The university prof with the terrible reviews is famed author and Wharton professor Adam Grant. He wins regular awards for his teaching. Black tie dinner recipient is Cal Fussman, unbelievably good storyteller, interviewer of celebrities, world leaders. He had the crowd hanging on his every word within 2 minutes. By the end of this video, I'll show you exactly what they did, as well as some other really effective techniques. My favorite part is that none of these techniques require any special talent at all. Anybody can use them to become a better speaker. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ashley, and we make videos to help you get your dream job. So we talk about things like how to get higher grades, job search skills, interview skills, productivity, and like today, how to be a better public speaker. The first tip is incredibly powerful, and I'm mystified why more people don't use it. We all generally have a good idea of what makes for a good speech and a bad speech. So record yourself, review it, and critique it. There's a couple of ways you can make this more effective. The first way is to first go through and look for ums, look for ahs, look for those sort of things so you're aware of them. Maybe even go as far as to count them so that you're noticing them and you're really aware when you go through it. The second thing you ought to do is go through on your second, third, and fourth recording and look for where you can change your pacing, where you can modulate your voice, modulate your tone, and keep doing that as you're doing your second and third recording. So that's tip number one, record and critique your own videos. So Cal Fussman used a really powerful technique. He does a great job telling the story on a Tim Ferriss podcast. I'm gonna link to that down below. I'm gonna skip a little bit of the story, but you'll get the gist of it. Make sure to listen to it though. It's a great story. Now, what he did doesn't take any special talent at all, but it does take a little bit of nerve. So picture this. He walks up to the podium, 3,000 to 4,000 people in the audience. They're all talking to the other people at their table. None of them are looking at him. So what does he do? He pauses, stops talking, doesn't say a word. 15 seconds pass, 30 seconds pass. At about a minute, people start to notice something weird is going on, and they start to hush. Now, this guy is reasonably well known, but he's not super famous, so it takes a little while before the room really goes quiet. And then finally, the room is quiet and he launches into his presentation, or his acceptance speech. What he did was use silence as his ally to really powerful effect. You don't have to use it exactly the same way he did. You can pause to make an important point. You can pause and cue the audience in that there's something important you're saying. But it's really a powerful technique, and I really encourage you to experiment with it. And that's the second one, using silence effectively. The third technique relies on a couple of psychological biases that people have, a recency effect and a primacy effect. Those two things are the reason that when someone makes a list or reads a list of numbers, you tend to remember the first and the last. So to take advantage of that, craft a really strong opening and a really strong closing, and then memorize those two. The first line will help you start out strong and build really good momentum. And then, once you stick the landing, you'll leave people with a really favorable impression of you. So that's the third one, start and finish strong. So one quick thing before I go on, I write a weekly newsletter where I share one quick actionable tip. You can usually read it in less than 5 minutes, and people seem to find it really valuable. So you can sign up at the link in the description below. So now back to it. Adam Grant was apparently a nervous wreck when he first started teaching. He shared the story on a Tim Ferriss podcast. I listened to a lot of Tim Ferriss podcasts. The link's in the description below. Make sure you go check it out. Apparently he was so bad that one student wrote, "The professor's sweating so much I can't even pay attention to the lecture anymore." So how do you go from that level of anxiety to repeatedly winning teaching awards? Well, Grant did two things. The first was to ask himself, why was he even doing this in the first place? He was doing it because he loved ideas and he really wanted to share them with students as a way to help them. By doing this, he flipped the script, and instead of being all nervous when he was up front, he was thinking about how important the ideas he was sharing with his students were and how much he wanted to do that. And that made things a lot easier. Focusing on serving your audience is a really powerful technique because you stress so much less about whether you're doing a perfect job, and ironically, as it turns out, it actually helps you do a better job. And that's number 4. Don't make it about you. Focus on serving your audience. So number 5, the second thing he did was something that he learned in his days as a competitive diver. He started putting in lots of reps. He would take every opportunity to get in front of an audience and seek out more opportunities. And he wasn't just doing reps, he employed something that chess prodigy and writer of The Art of Learning, a guy named Josh Waitzkin, he wrote about. He was putting in high quality reps. This is Adam Grant. Was putting in high quality reps by getting lots of feedback. Almost daily, he would ask to be a guest lecturer in other people's classes. And then afterwards, he'd ask them for surveys about his progress, so he could basically assess his progress. Gradually, between focusing on serving his audience and putting in a lot of high quality reps, he was able to keep getting better, and now he's a rock star lecturer. So that is number 5. Put in lots of high quality reps. Okay, number 6. Only a couple more left for today. The next one is a way to level up the quality of your reps as well. Feedback, touched on a second ago, is one of the fastest ways to get better at anything. And in terms of public speaking, there's a bunch of ways you can do it. I'm going to focus on 2. The first is after every speech or presentation, do an after action review. Evaluate what you did well, what you need to do better. Track this over time and see if you're noticing a recurring problem, and that's going to help you fix it. Now, to level up this approach, ask someone in the audience for feedback. Lots of people unfortunately do this wrong. People often don't really know what to watch for, or they feel bad giving honest feedback because they think it'll hurt your feelings, so you get generic, useless feedback. You did a nice job, good work, and that doesn't help you. So you should talk to them ahead of time and tell them 2 things. First, tell them you have thick skin, they will not hurt your feelings, and in fact, you really value their honesty. Second, tell them something specific you're working on so that it's something they can watch for and they know how to give feedback on that thing. Maybe you're working on moving around the stage more naturally. Maybe you're working on varying your pace or your cadence or whatever. But whatever it is, tell them something specifically you want feedback on, and you're more likely to get good high quality feedback. And of course, that's number 6, get high quality feedback. The last tip is one that typically helps drive a point home. Use real world examples in your speeches as a way to illustrate what you're trying to show. Now, of course, in this video, I used Adam Grant and Cal Fussman, or stories about them, to illustrate a couple of points. And I hope that made those tips more meaningful for you. And that was number 7, use real world examples to illustrate a point. Now, to be able to do that, I've built an effective way to have these stories at my fingertips whenever I need them. So come on over and check out this video, and I'll show you exactly how I find, save, and keep track of these stories and examples so you can make your next speech more memorable. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you up there.